then I go to... Hi everyone, welcome to our live stream. This is Sumreen.
Yeah, this is Carlos.
And this is our first episode of 2020.
Yeah.
This is episode 201. Oops.
Yeah, this is Carlos.
My own computer where I'm watching a live stream and has a delay. Alright, so first live stream of 2020, episode 201, new series. The idea for making a new series is that we want to incorporate some new elements into it. Ideally, was thinking we could maybe have like community members that are watching call in, like using Zoom or something, but that's why it has a new name. Haven't implemented a lot of changes for this episode.
Well, new decade, new season.
New decade, new season, plus new features. Give us your feedback. All right. In general, this episode is about setting up Raspy, and I'll turn it over to Carlos to tell you all about it.
Yeah. So if you previously haven't heard, Snips is closing January 31st, which means that Snips will no longer be usable after that time if you haven't pre-downloaded your assistant, but you won't be able to develop for Snips anymore.
And as you know, we love Snips, and we had so many guides with Snips. Yeah.
So we're starting off this year with showing you how to install a new voice assistant called Raspy. And what makes this one different is that instead of being its own voice assistant, like developed already compact, it's kind of like an organizer. So it'll grab all the parts for a voice assistant and put it together in a web interface for you. And what's great about that is that if any of those things, any of those projects ever becomes deprecated or just not meeting the standards that you want, you can swap it out for alternatives, which is very, very cool how they show you.
Yeah, no, that's definitely really useful. So anything we're going to show here before we switch to
Yeah,
the
so
screen?
we're just going to go over the setup really quick because this is going to be a short guide. So I'm going to lower the camera down here. So what we have right here is just a matrix creator on a Pi 4, but you can use a Pi 3 as well, connected with an audio jack. And on the actual image itself, we have a Raspy and Buster Lite with our matrix packages installed, and we'll go over the dependencies installed, but it's very minor things. We'll go over what to install right now. But the idea is that we just have a very we have a very basic setup for this. We'll go over everything you need, but essentially we just have Pi with some minor dependencies, and we'll actually go over how to set up Raspy itself. So
Okay,
if you can
switch
switch over
over
to the
to your computer, and that should be good. Cool, go for it.
Okay. Yeah, let me know if anything looks a little too small.
Will do.
Okay, so to go over it, we have our Hackster guide that also goes through everything we're about to do. So if you just want to read and follow along, or just to visually confirm how things work. So we have that, as well as on the right side, we've SSH'd into our Pi. For those of you that don't know, SSHing is just, when we put in commands in here, it sends it directly to our Pi. And here, I'll even show you how to SSH. If you want to do this to your Pi without having to actually get a monitor and keyboard and like that extra step and doing it from your computer, you can just open up your terminal, type in SSH Pi at and the address of your Raspberry Pi.
Address,
the IP address of your Raspberry Pi. And to figure that out, I forgot I'm on there.
Yeah.
To figure that out, all you have to do the easiest way is plugging it into your monitor and just actually looking at it, because if you don't have the desktop version, it'll just output the IP address at the very end. So I'm just going to type in 192.168.1.208.
There are also some really nice phone apps to scan the network for IPs, and they usually have a host name like Raspberry Pi. We can link documents that show you that stuff in the description.
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of guides on how to do this. This is just very surface level. The password is Raspberry, but honestly, just looking at a guide will cover all this and more.
Yep.
Okay, so we're in here, and as you can see, there's nothing on our Pi right now. So all you need to get started is go to the guide, and we have all the installations, dependencies you need. So the first one is installing Docker, because we're running Raspy in a Docker container to make sure it always works. So this installs Docker. We've already done this. And then you can reboot to actually enable it, but the other dependencies are going to reboot either way, so we're not going to bother. The next one is actually installing the matrix packages. So we use our kernel modules, our own kernel modules, on here to access the board's microphones through ALSA, which is just like I guess you could call it like the audio server for Linux. So this right here installs our basic matrix packages to flash the FPGA, which directly talks to the mics. Then we reboot so that our device is already flashed. And then the next step would be to install the kernel modules, which actually directly gives us access to those mics as well as a few other features.
Through ALSA as well. Yeah.
And then you reboot again because the kernel modules require another reboot. So it's 2 reboots in total. Very simple. You literally just copy this and paste it into your terminal, press enter. That should take you like maybe 10 to 15 minutes for it to all download. So we're going to start off here where it says start the Raspy voice assistant. So to do this, all you have to do is copy that, go to your terminal, and paste it. A lot of our guides are going to mostly be copy and paste.
Because like all the commands are there, you just need to figure out like when to paste what, and it's laid out for you usually.
Yeah, so once you paste that, normally it'll take a bit longer because it'll download the image. We've already pre-downloaded the Docker image, so this starts instantly. But when you download it, it might take like a good 5 minutes.
Right. So be prepared because this was instant, but it's not that magical.
Yeah. So if you look at the options, you'll see that it has a couple interesting things you might not realize if you're not familiar with Docker. So the D over here in Docker run means it's a detached service. So if you don't see anything else in the terminal, that's fine. This app is already going to run on boot every time you reboot the Pi. It has everything configured and even makes some configuration files on your Raspberry Pi that you can access to directly change your profiles for your voice assistant. So right now, once you've done this, you should be good to go. Assuming your computer and your Pi on the same Wi-Fi, all you have to do to access it is open a browser tab. And if you can see that, it'll basically be your Raspberry Pi's IP address, and the port is 121.0.1.
Yeah, so, and this is listed in the guide as well. So, yeah.
Actually, I can just point it out right over here. So, yeah HTTP, your Pi IP, port 121.0.1. So once you're there, you'll be prompted. You'll be shown the the Raspy GUI, web GUI. And you'll be asked to download a profile. Hit download now, and when you hit download now, on the top right, you're gonna notice top left. You're gonna notice a spinning R. That basically signifies when anything's ever loading or processing, that R is gonna be spinning. You know, this do not touch anything while it's doing that. It'll once it's moving, it'll eventually stop. So the download is complete. Raspy is gonna restart. Close.
I want to re-stress that when it's spinning, if you do random things / try to refresh pages, things might not download properly. I have been guilty of doing this before.
Yeah. So right here, we're almost set with Raspy. We only need 3 steps to get this up and running, and then we're good to go. So what you're gonna notice right now is we never told it like how to use our microphones or anything like that. So the first step is to 1, choose a wake word, and 2, install the wake word, and 2, actually tell it to use our microphones.
Right.
And then 3 would be training the models so we can actually talk to it.
Right. So training the models is like so that it recognizes things you say, right?
Yeah, it has a couple of example trainings. I'm not entirely sure how that works, but that's just what the directions say.
Right. I think it's the natural language understanding part of it.
Yeah, so you're going to go to settings on the tab over here and scroll down to either, let me see.
You should show how you can click on microphone and go down to it, right?
So we're going to go to wake word and choose that first. So we're going to use Porcupine because by the Raspy documentation, it says the performant is the best, and there's no online sign up, so quick and easy to set up. You're free to change that however you want. This is just a basic tutorial.
Right.
Anything more, I highly recommend reading the Raspy docs because they're very good. So you're going to click on use Porcupine, and after that, you're going to scroll down to where it says microphones, or you can actually just go back up and click where it says microphone.
And it'll scroll down for you. Yeah. And
then you're going to see this option over here. I'll zoom in a little bit more. So you're going to use A-Record directly, and you can see ALSA, like we mentioned earlier, what our microphones are able to be accessed by. Click on this little...
input device drop down.
Yeah, this drop down over here. And you're going to use a hardware device, matrix sound, dev. Well, you can look at it in the Hackster guide. It's a little bit...
Yeah, look at it in the Hackster guide. If you don't pick exactly that one, most likely it won't pick up the audio from the mics.
Yeah. Actually, you might be able to use a DSnoop one, but we're just using the hardware one because we know this one works.
Yeah.
So then after that, you're going to hit Save Settings. This will both save the Porcupine wake word as well as the input device.
Input. Yeah.
And keep in mind, once you save, the microphone input is going to say it's default. or at least that was what happened the first time we tried. So if
Yeah.
it says that, you can ignore it. It shows the mics. Don't mess with it anymore if you don't need to.
Yeah, so basically it shows up as default even though you've already selected a specific input device.
Yeah, so right now we save the settings, restart Raspy, and we're going to be prompted now to download the configurations for our wake word. So right now, download the Porcupine configurations. You're going to hit download now. And then you can see on the top left, you have the spinning R going around. So now we just, be quiet, let it do its thing. This project is still picking up. I'd say it's really nice for where it's going right now. And I can see it being a lot better in the future. So it's just exciting to see it grow. So, all right, close. And I'm not sure if I exited out or if I have to hit download now, but just in case.
It exits out by itself if you wait enough. So I guess wait till it exits out by itself for the best results. Yeah.
So if now the last thing we have to do is train our wake word, train our current profile with everything already set up. So you hit train. You're gonna see the R spinning again. Wait for that to finish, and then we'll be ready to actually test our voice assistant.
So it's nice that Raspy has like a UI for all this, and it's not just a bunch of terminal commands, right?
So now we're going to go to sentences just to show you something. So by default, we're going to go over how to make skills in another video. This is just a setup.
Next one.
But just to show you, like here is a get time skill and how it was made. This is the intent name and the 2 sentences you can tell it. So the reason I'm showing you this is because we're going to go to the log and actually try that skill out. Of course, it doesn't do anything right now. It's just that it can actually catch it. And what the next video we're going to do is over how to react to any skills you do.
Right.
So I'm going to clear the log, and the default wake word that we from just setting up Porcupine is, hey, what time is it? So here we go. If you look at the logs, you'll see right here, the intent name was get time, which in sentences you can see get time. And what we said was, what time is it? But the wake word is, hey, Porcupine. Yeah.
Okay, so I hope people could hear.
Yeah, we'll do
a little sound.
We'll do it one more time.
Yeah.
Hold on. There you go. So, hey, Porcupine. Hey, Porcupine.
It's because it was listening for something already.
Hey, Porcupine. What time is it? There you go. So I said it a bit too early, so it only got get time. But wait, did it get
worked.
the
Yeah.
Oh, no, never mind.
Name, get time, what time is it? Yeah, so, it definitely picked that up.
Yeah, so that covers just setting up the assistant, super easy. And if you go to the documentation, they'll go over how to customize it, how to get it working with, I think, Hass and Node-RED, as well as our guide in the future is going to go over how to use a WebSocket to catch all these intents. And the reason we're doing that is because it's a bit more flexible. But I highly recommend taking a dive at this. It explains a lot. And just to show you a bit more about those configuration files I mentioned earlier, if you go to your Raspberry Pi, I'm going to clear the screen. If you do ls-a to show all the hidden files in the home directory, you'll see the .config folder. And if you go in there, that's where all the Raspy settings are. So
You have the
.config. So you go in config, you look inside, you have a Raspy folder. We go inside there. And then look inside, we have the profiles. Go inside the profiles. We have English which is what we're using.
Oh, there are other languages supported by Raspy too, which is great.
So then if you look inside the English profile, which is the one we're using right now, you'll see that there's a Porcupine folder, and this goes on the documentation. You'll see that there's some JSON option that you can set for, because you can change the Porcupine wake word with a couple preset options if you don't like that wake word, as well as if you just want to flat out change it to, I think, like Snowboy, and I think you have 2 other options. So I'll go to Porcupine, and there's I think you change out the PV or PPN. No, I think it was a PPN you change out for the different wake word options.
And it's all in the documentation, right?
Yeah, let's see. There's a lot of keyword files available to use. Let me see if it was this one.
So if
right here. So you go to Raspberry Pi, and there's a ton. Look, you have grapefruit, bumblebee, blueberry.
Oh, those are the wake words.
Yeah.
Ah, okay. So those are wake words you can change it to by just replacing that file.
Yeah.
Oh,
so the default right now is Porcupine Raspberry Pi, and if you actually go to the settings, I can even show you how it's selecting them. So if you don't want to just flat out replace the name.
Oh yeah, you can do it through the UI too.
Yeah, I mean you still have to download the file and put it on your Pi, but if you go to wake word, you can see right here keyword files. It's porcupine.ppn, which
That's
is
what
the
it's
one right
pointing
there.
to.
So you can either add your own and then change the path here, or just replace that file with the same name from any of these. And again, all this is laid out on the documentation, very in depth. If you have any issues, you can make a GitHub issue. You can submit a GitHub issue on the official Raspy repo, and the author is pretty responsive. So you should at least get some kind of response, or I think they even have a community as well if you want to ask anything there. But yeah, that pretty much covers our guide. And the next time we'll go over how to make intents, which are essentially skills, and how to actually react with them. So how to make
like
them,
catch them,
Yeah.
and then write action code.
yeah. So how to catch, how to write intents, how to listen for them. So listen to events or whenever
There we
someone uses the skill, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, so that's going to be our next guide. All right, so coming back to where you all can see us in the front, hopefully the camera captures both of us. So, yeah, Raspy, I think, does hold like a lot of potential, right, for the offline open source voice area. We're excited to do our next one. We already have the Hackster guide for that.
Yeah, so the Hackster guide is already up if you want to go and just try it out yourself. And we'll actually do the video. So if you're stuck or want to see the actual how easy it is to set up, we'll do the example in JavaScript, but we also have a Python example available. So that'll be covered in I think like 2 to 3 weeks. But yeah, that pretty much sums up for our first 2020 video.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's it.
We don't have any big announcements at the moment that we can particularly speak about. But as always, like tune in.
One thing, we have a question.
Oh, yay!
Yeah, so it does work with
Thank
so we just got asked if it works with the voice. Yeah, this works with the creator and voice. Our guide actually.
Here, I'll switch back to
Yeah.
so people can see the computer. Okay, there we go.
Yeah, so our guide actually says Raspy Voice Assistant on Matrix Creator and Matrix Voice. So it works on both devices the same way.
It's that camera. Sorry.
Oh.
Yeah, because the computer's there. Yeah, so it does work with the voice. Thank you so much for participating and asking a question, because this is always, that's why live is happening. All right, we have another question,
yeah, I guess
too.
I'll say.
What are the advantages of using Raspy over Sopare? Sopari? I actually have no idea how to pronounce that. Good question. I have never actually heard of that before. We're looking it up as we speak, and you can see us looking it up.
Yeah. So we haven't actually heard of Sopar, although this seems more for pattern recognition rather than a voice assistant.
But this is interesting. If you're interested in this, we could look at how this could work with Matrix devices too. We'll look into it.
Oh wait, apparently it does do voice control.
Oh, very cool.
Okay, so we don't actually
right.
know. If you want to try it out and let us know, we'll be more than happy to look into it, potentially making a guide.
Yeah.
We just use Raspy because it was recommended by the
Yeah.
It was recommended by the Snips community, a few members by there, and it's been going around places, so we decided to spread the word out a bit more. So users that still want voice assistant that's offline still have an option to actually use. That's pretty well along. Like it's good enough to use.
I mean, after Snips, kind of fell off for developers, we've just been trying to find new things, and the community has been like the people recommending things to us to try out with our boards, right?
Yeah.
So like, we got Raspy from the community, and now I guess we'll look into Sopar, forgive the pronunciation. Somebody, or the same person, Lucas said, like htop ? Isn't that the thing that gives you the terminal, like, isn't that okay? I have no idea either. I don't know. Htop ? What is that? Is htop the thing that like shows a bunch of like commands and like makes it using htop to monitor system processes?
I guess I haven't actually. Is it?
Oh, David said cool.
Okay.
Thanks, Lucas. I'm not sure exactly what you meant. You can. Okay, that is. Yes, I'm not sure what the context of your question is.
Like to see the processes, I guess?
I guess you can try it. Like do htop-c. HTOP. Yeah. So those are that's our htop log. It looks cool.
I guess if you want to see how many resources Raspy's taking up.
Yeah, the CPU usage doesn't seem that bad.
We're on a Pi 4 with 2 gigs of RAM, if I'm right.
Yeah, so Pi 4 definitely like makes the CPU use percentage like, right, it's like much more process efficient.
No, it's not more efficient. It's just it has more power.
Has more power. Yeah, like that's hence like the percentage
Yeah.
of usage for the same thing.
Yeah, so we're using Pi 4, 2 gigs RAM. We haven't noticed any slowdown or chokes. We haven't tried on. I haven't tried on a Pi 3.
I have tried it on a Pi 3. Raspy is. I mean, at least it hasn't crashed on me so far on a Pi 3. I haven't tried HTOP though. A message is held for review. I tested at Pi 3 and the swap was full. Oh, okay. So Lucas tested it on a Pi 3 and the swap was full. I personally did not check HTOP and it didn't crash for me, but we will test again and let you know if we can figure anything out.
Yeah, if you're having any issues, you can make an official post on the community. So not only we can have a more formal way of going over it. What camera are we on? We're on this one?
This camera still.
We can have a more formal way of going over it, as well as just for information to be shared with everyone else that's if they're having issues.
Community.matrix.1.
We'll put a couple helpful links in the video description. In there.
This one, yeah.
In the video description to just have you not have to look for everything.
Yeah.
All right, but I think that concludes the live stream.
Yeah, if anybody has any more questions. Another question from David P.
No, that's just
not another question, but just a comment or suggestion. Might depend on how many phrases are trained. That makes a lot of sense. I'll say that's slower. Might depend on how many phrases are trained. I realized when I first said it that it probably came out all jumbled together. That is so true. If you have a lot of training sets for like different intents and stuff, it probably.
I mean, I haven't done that too much yet. I've just done the setup and basic training. I haven't actually made like a full heavy assistant right now. But in the future, we'll definitely try that out. And as the project improves and as we experiment a little bit more with it, we'll release guides and tips on how you can optimize your flow, as well as we'll be releasing more tips on how to, for one, increase our microphone sensitivity if you feel like it's too low.
Yes.
There is a way to edit the ALSA configuration, and there's also an easier way is like you can also increase the ALSA volume for like the output on the speakers, which you just type in ALSA mixer in the terminal.
Yeah.
We'll probably make like a nice little
quick little guide on like how to mess with like the mic, some of the key mic configurations.
Yeah. I'll probably even add it to our documentation. But these are general ALSA configurations, so we'll add it probably like in a week or two, or if someone really wants it, we'll try to get all the information together and make a guide out of it.
Yeah. All right, so thank you for watching. Thank you for asking questions. We really appreciate people actually taking the time to watch live and ask questions. Post on our community if you have questions. Post on the comments. We'll get back to you, and we'll post helpful links. Any feedback for the way the live stream was run itself is also welcome. Anything. All right. Thank you for watching. I guess. Do you have anything else you would like to add? All right. Awesome. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week. Bye.